Hey guys, it's Lori. So I guess I'll call this number two in the relationship series, and I'm skipping a little bit, so it's not like directly in order, okay? I just want to talk a little bit about communication. I'm going to make this one little quick, I hope. I always say that, and they end up longer. But communication is extremely important, no matter what relationship we're talking about, boss, employee, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, children, parents, any kind of relationship that you can think of. Now we know, or we should know, that relationships are the way we discover who we are. They're the way we discover who we want, what we want, how we grow. It's kind of like if you were always in a pure white room, you wouldn't know what color you preferred because you wouldn't know a color. If you're never interactive, never in a relationship, you never truly find out who you are because there's nothing to bounce that off of, if that makes sense. So this is, I mean, God created us to be in relationship, not only, mother, father, child, but all different kinds of relationships. So communication is important on all levels. I guess I don't want to just focus on communication between couples, but I might seem like I'm doing that through this. Just know that it's with any relationship. First and foremost, we need to learn to listen, to truly hear other people. So often we get so caught up in, especially if you're hurt or angry or feel like you've been treated unfairly, we get so caught up in what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're going through, that we don't listen to the other side. So it's, whoever you're in communication with, if you want to have open, healthy, productive communication, you have to be willing to listen. Even if you disagree with what you're hearing, you need to be able to hear that person out and give them enough value as a human being to at least hear them out. So oftentimes, especially if we're in a disagreement, we are so concerned about what we're going to say next, we stop listening at some point. So learning to listen is very important. If you're not in a frame of mind to listen, it's not the time to have the conversation. And when you speak clearly, speak in personal, don't personal pronouns. Don't use you make me unhappy, or you drive me crazy. How about I go crazy when this happens, or I feel insecure. Always take it from your point of view, so then you're not putting the other person on the defensive. Listening is really important. Learning how to verbalize is really important. Also, paying attention. Not everybody communicates through words. A lot of us communicate through action. So you need to pay attention to the big picture. Some people show that they care about you. Some people like to buy gifts. Chances are those are the people that like to receive gifts. You can learn a lot about how to communicate with somebody by paying attention to how they communicate. So pay attention to everything. And make sure you're clear on what you want to say, what you want to do, and what your motives are. This is just a few tips on communication. I mean, I could have a video that takes, 2 hours long talking about just communication and how to do it and what to do. But I'm condensing it. I want to make it quick. What I really want to talk about is just when people disagree, and something called fair fighting. And I don't know if you've ever heard of fair fighting. And it might sound kind of funny, like fair fighting. I'm not advocating for fighting, but this is a way of communicating through anger and pain and hard situations. Because that's when most people shut down and lose communication. A lot of people will go inside themselves and just stop communicating at all. And you know what? If that's the way the person you're dealing with communicates, if you learn that about them, that at the moment of pain or at the moment of anger or whatever, they can't talk to you, don't force the issue. Give them their space. Don't give them too long because you want the communication to happen. But give them their space, you know, let them kind of work it out and internalize it, and so that when it is time to communicate, you're able to in a healthy way. And if you are that person, same thing, give yourself some time. Don't force somebody on the spot because not everybody's different. If you're that person that needs to immediately communicate, it's a give and take. So you gotta, okay, you can tell them at that point, I need to talk to you. I need to at some point very quickly. And at the same time, give them their space. Let them know this is gonna happen, but I'll give you your few minutes, whatever it is. But fair fighting, just real quickly. Okay, so there's a couple different things. First of all, there's some rules and some, I don't know if you want to call them rules, whatever, to this fair fighting thing. First of all, one good thing to have, and this is really for close relationships. Like, you probably wouldn't do this with your boss. Well, I guess it depends on what relationship you have with your boss and what kind of place you work at, but you can do it with any kind of close relationship, your spouse, you know, your significant other, your kids, especially grown children. I'm not thinking little kids, but you know, if your children are grown, maybe good friends, roommates, stuff like that. People that that are close enough that they have the potential to have a blowout or whatever. Having a code word and talking about the way you communicate prior to any kind of disagreement is a good thing. You might want to sit down and say, this is where I'm most comfortable communicating. This is, you know, and if you have this discussion, when the proverbial shit hits the fan, excuse my language, you already know this about each other. So even if you're really angry, it's out there. You'll remember it, right? Or you'll recall it at some point during the conversation. Sit down and have a talk about how you like to communicate and what your setbacks might be and what you're working on and this and that. That's always good to know about each other. Another thing to do is have, and this is going to sound silly, but have like a code word. And what the code word is used for. You don't use the code word flippantly. You agree that this is an important tool to use. If something gets out of hand. So say you are in the middle of an argument and emotions have risen to the level it's impossible to communicate in a healthy manner. Name calling starts to happen, or you've got to just stop because you know something bad's going to happen. One or both calls out the code word. You pick a word that's kind of crazy that will mean something between just you guys, and it could be anything. I had a relationship once where our code word was popcorn. So what would happen if we got into a really intense place, or if one or the other was, you know, needed to step back, or you know, we're about to hit the brink where it's going to turn unhealthy, we'd yell out popcorn. And when popcorn was said, all communication stops. A lot of times it would make us sit back and kind of chuckle a little bit. That doesn't mean communication stops forever. It means we need a break here. I love you enough to say I can't talk to you anymore because I may say something I don't want to say, or I may hear something, you know. So I love you enough to keep this relationship together, so we're going to stop it right now. And it works. It actually works, believe me. If both parties have agreed to it ahead of time, or like I said, you could use it with your adult children. You could have the same code word for the whole family, whatever. A group that you're anything. So that's one thing. Another thing is when you do argue, when you do disagree or fight, God forbid you fight, sometimes it happens, use the fair fighting rules. And fair fighting rules basically are just this. You remember at all times that you truly care about this person. So you're not there to hurt each other. Sometimes people that love each other because of their own soul wounds or whatever are vicious during fighting, and that happens a whole lot. And sometimes things that are said in the heat of the moment hurt so deeply, and they can't be withdrawn. You can't take them back. So fair fighting kind of prevents that. So fair fighting says, first of all, no name calling. I don't care how mad you are, you don't call anybody else out of their name. You don't call nasty words. You don't do anything like that. Fair fighting obviously says no hurt, no hitting, right? I mean, that should be no matter what. No physical, hands-on, nothing. Because sometimes even if you don't mean to hit, if you're in a real emotional state and you go to touch the person, you could hurt them. So fair fighting says hands off. Other times, even if you wouldn't hurt them, sometimes people, when they're upset, they don't want to be touched at all. So hands off. So you've got your code word, you've got no name calling, you've got hands off. Next, the past stays in the past. It does not come up. Now, I'm not talking about something that happened this morning, unless it was dealt with. If it was dealt with this morning, no, it belongs in the past. It can't come up. Anything that has happened and you've gone past it in your relationship, somebody cheated on somebody, somebody, I don't know, broke up, and this happened when we broke up, whatever, you lied to me way back when. If that happened and you have gotten through it in your relationship, even a court of law says you can't bring it up. Just the fact that you stayed there means it's forgiven. You can't bring it up again. Even a court of law will tell you that, like in divorce court. So that's in fair fighting. The past stays in the past. We're talking about the present. We're talking about what we're arguing about right now. If you continuously find yourself going back to the past, maybe you truly haven't forgiven, or maybe you truly haven't worked through it. That's something to talk about when you're not in an argument. That's something to talk about, to share with your person, regardless of what the relationship is, to let them know, hey, I'm struggling with this, and we need to work this out. The next thing, okay, so the no name calling, hands off, the past stays in the past, and any kind of vulnerability, any secrets shared with each other, any weak spots that one or the other may have are totally out of limits. Like they're off limits. You cannot touch them. So many times people want to really hurt the other person and later regret it. And if you're one of those people, it's something to work on within yourself. You don't want to hurt the people you love, but if you find yourself doing that, and it happens a lot, that's something off limits. So, in other words, somebody tells you something, they realize that, whatever in their childhood, certain things that happened really affected them and made them the way they are, or maybe somebody's, anything. A lot of people have very sensitive issues. Maybe if somebody's, for instance, my mom used to call me stupid when I was growing up. So anybody as an adult, if they call me stupid, it would cut 10 times as much as it would another person. The fact that my mother had really strong mental health issues, a lot of times my husband would say, you're crazy like your mother, or no wonder your mother called you stupid, you are stupid, or, so those are vulnerable things, secrets that have been shared. They shouldn't be used against the other person. No wonder you don't have any, everybody leaves you and you feel so alone. Like if the person feels alone, well, no wonder you feel alone, because you push people away, you're a jerk, or whatever the case may be. Don't do that to somebody you love. I don't care how angry you are. So those are basically just the quick version of fair fighting. If you keep it on the up and up, you remember you love the person, and you're arguing your point. Remember where it's coming from. Remember why you're arguing it. I mean, sometimes we get in foolish arguments over really stupid things because we've got underlying resentments going on, which is why it's always a good idea to talk to each other. Stay in open communication. Something's bothering you, bring it up in a loving way. When you're not in a disagreement. And that way it's a lot easier to stick to the fair fighting rules. But I will tell you, if both parties love each other and are open to the fair fighting rules and remember them and work on them, including the code word, which is really brilliant in my opinion. It really works. I mean, it might sound silly now as we're talking about it, but if you try it and both of you are in agreement, it really does make an impact. If you stick to these basic reminders during disagreements, you'll find that things go a lot smoother. You build relationships stronger, even relationships that you've had for years, relationships with your adult children, relationships with a friend that's been in your life for 30 years, husband and wife that have been together years and years and years. You'll find that you're building a stronger and a stronger foundation and trust and love, and things will work out a lot better. You'll find that you're probably not fighting as often. You're probably disagreeing and working it out a lot quicker. All right, guys, this is the second one. I hope I didn't make it all too long. I was trying to go under 15 minutes. I didn't quite make it. But I hope it helps you guys. And the next thing I want to talk about is when we're dealing with unhealthy people, mental illness or personality disorders or any number of things, and how we can deal with that. Alrighty, guys, I'll talk to you soon. I hope you have a blessed day and God just fills your life with favor everywhere you go. Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.